Hopefully, I'm Tanya Chupakamandiola with Joint Region Marianas, and you're watching Island Images. We are joined by Dave Snyder, Access Plan Coordinator, as well as Rich Omo. He's a base archaeologist over here at Andersen Air Force Base. And in this episode of Island Images, we're going to go to two more sites that are part of the public access plan. Dave, can you tell us where we're going to?
Welcome. We're down here in Tarague embayment basin area, and we're going to see two sites. We're going to go to a cave that has some pictographs, and then we're going to go to a cenote that has a well in it that was built in the 1940s. It's called Tarague Well Number 4.
So we're here at Tarague Cave, where they have a very interesting set of pictographs. So I'm going to allow Mr. Omo to explain the pictographs and the significance of this cave here.
Okay, this is comes by a number of different names: Tarague Pictograph Cave, McGoggin Point Cave. But it's got two sets of pictographs. It has a lower set, which are red against the white background of these limestone walls, and then it has white against the darker gray of the limestone up there. So two different sets of pictographs. We don't know the relationship between them in terms of their ages or who might have done them, but some pictographs have been dated down at Retidian, and the date is pre-Lati, not Lati, which is very interesting because there are different ideas about who's doing it and why they're doing it. One of the ideas that was floated by Richard Davis, who was the Historic Preservation Officer a number of years ago, was that it was part of a millenarian cult doing it, like the ghost dance. I don't know if you've ever heard of the ghost dance in
Native American ghost
Native
dance?
American ghost dance, the Paiute ghost dance. And what it was here they were seeing this onslaught of Europeans coming into their area, and they wanted to get rid of them. And so what they were doing was they were calling on their ancestors to come and join them in a final battle to push out the Europeans. And Richard suggested that perhaps the same thing was going on here to push out the Spanish because of what they were doing to the island.
So you find the red ones. What were they made of?
Well, I think perhaps we have this red dirt soil on island.
It's very iron rich.
The iron rich, exactly. And so we have it predominantly in the south, but it's also up here in the north. When we talk about pictographs, we're talking about people taking local pigments, local minerals basically, to pigment their art. And I think that that's where the red coloration is coming from that red dirt. We have the white pictographs against the darker gray.
That was limestone based?
Yeah, it seems to be limestone based, and it could be mixed with ash and then probably some type of fixative as a tree sap. And we know that if you've ever cut a breadfruit, it's very, very sticky sap. And it's possible that that was the fixative or the adhesive that was used with the pigment and applied to the walls. You see the stick figure for the head. You see what appear to be the arms coming out to the side, and then the legs down at the bottom, small head. But you don't have the lower arm dangling below the upper arm like you do in that lower pictograph or the pictographs over at Gadau's Cave. And then if you can see on the left-hand side, there's a place where somebody used their finger and made 1, 2, 3, 4 stroke marks. It's possible that it was specific, they climbed up there to put them there, very difficult to access. So there may not have been an easy way to get up there early on.
Do you have some idea of what this was like before the road was here? Was this a much deeper cave? Did the cave go out in this direction? Was the cave cut in some way before this road, this access road?
No, the access road did not cut the cave. In 1993, we had an earthquake, and at that time a very large block was detached and came down onto the road, and that block has been taken out. And that obscured this whole side of the cave. So right now it's more open, but it's probably as open as it was during the time that prehistoric people were here on island.
I guess with all the studies that have been done in the area, it must mean that this area has so much cultural significance to the people of the island of Guam. You know, with the military, if they're sponsoring a lot of these studies, I guess what does that signify, or what does it mean?
Well, I think it's a recognition. The military is tasked with being a good steward of the cultural resources that are underneath their domain. And I think they are following through on that with projects such as the Public Access Project.
Tarague number 4. It's 10 meters deep, and from a 1959 report, there's a large cavern beyond the 21 meters depth that they went and surveyed this. But look at this. Is this cool?
This is the water table for the island.
The aquifer.
And the aquifer, that's right. The water is taken from that and piped up to the top of the base. This was one of the first, not the first, but one of the first pump stations and wells, in 1949 to be built for the base. This was a cavern at one time, and what happened was that the roof collapsed, and when the roof collapsed, we have a sinkhole. This would have been an irregular surface that we're standing on if there was no structure here at this time, right? There would be all of the blocks from the roof as it broke and collapsed down, all at different angles. So that had to be all cut up and taken out. And then they had to cart down all of the equipment to grade this. And once they got it graded, then they had to start pouring a foundation. It's a pretty substantial foundation on this. All this concrete work is, it's not thin material. It was probably accessible for prehistoric people to actually climb down to get to the water. But we don't find any evidence for it because of all the work that was done to put in the pump facility.
These pumps were made by Ingersoll Rand. I think that this was abandoned, it was built in 1949.
Yeah, and it wasn't used for very long. Mid-50s, I
Right.
think they abandoned it because the pumps were just too strong. And what they did was they pulled salt water. We're so close to the ocean here, and it pulled the salt water in and ruined the wells.
So we hope you found the information presented today very educational and informative, and that you enjoyed the show today. So with that, Rich, thank you so much for
Absolutely,
your time.
anytime.
Thank you.
Anytime.
And Dave, as always, thank you.
Thank you, Tanya.
Okay, with that, adios.
Adios.